Hello everyone, Johnny Mind here, and today we'll continue to learn Japanese with Kirby's Adventure. Last time we've defeated the boss of level 1 of the first world and started level 2. So we'll continue from that, but before that we'll check some kanji because at the end of level 1 we've seen we got an invincibility candy, and so we got to see these two kanji, this word muteki should be unaccented, but we'll check. And of course, I'd like to study them and the part that their components. Yes, unaccented, invincible, as we'll see, literally without rivals, unrivaled. Okay, we can. Let's close this. Oh, sorry. Also get. Okay, so we have also the app ready there. We can open Wiktionary as usual, and Invincible Candy page on Kirby, so we can copy the kanji from there. First and foremost, this one. As we'll soon see, it's actually and so the part at the bottom isn't actually what it seems to be, but we'll study it in its own, since it's quite a common kanji, so it's worth seeing now. It's a shortened form, we'll see it in a second, but first, the kanji on its own. This one. First we start with the comma on the left, then the one on the right, and then, as you can see also with the animation, this slanted stroke and the other slanted, as if it were also just like the kanji for person. So, comma, other comma, slanted, and slanted, of course, as usual, left to right, top to bottom. As you can see also here with the arrows, the stroke order. And it's worth studying now because this is the kanji, it's a pictogram representing a fire. As you can see in its original form, it was a fire. But luckily you can see it well enough also in the modern, in the contemporary character. As for its readings, we have he. In this case, as you might have noticed, if you recall the kanji for sun, day, which was also pronounced he, but that one was unaccented, one is accented. You can see also here, accented fire, unaccented day. And then we have it, well, there technically is an additional onyomi, but also an additional strictly Japanese reading, ho, but that is used only in compounds, as we'll eventually see, so focus on he for now. There's technically an additional reading also from Chinese, but we'll ignore it. The one that interests us from Chinese is ka, as it's the most common one. And, for example, can be found in the word kase. As a reminder, e, long, read as long e, some still read it as a. Kase, I think unaccented, yes, unaccented, and it means it's Mars, as in the planet. And from that, when added to the word for day of the week, yobi, we'll eventually see it that in kanji when the time comes, you get kayobi, and so Tuesday, literally the day of the week of the fire, or of Mars, the planet. On its own, when pronounced he, accented, it's the word for fire, flame, blaze. When pronounced on its own, pronounced ka, it's well, fire, as in the 5 elements in Chinese, but more often than not the abbreviation for Tuesday, because of that, of what I've just mentioned. In the kanji we want to study, it's actually in this form. Well, as we'll see, it's not actually present, but there is this element, which is a simplified form of the kanji for fire, when used as at the bottom of another kanji, often as the radical. You can see it's simply 4 commas, 1, 2, 3, and 4, all commas. This one inverted it goes this way, from the top to the bottom left, slanted, and then comma, comma, comma. But the kanji that interests us, which is the one in Muteki, is this one. Here it shows the stroke order of the cursive form, but that doesn't interest us. What interests us is of the kanji in its regular form. Unfortunately, I don't think there is the image. Yeah, no, so I simply explain it. We start, of course, at the top with the slanted stroke, then left to right. Then we have the first left to right, the left to right in the middle, all the top to bottom strokes in the middle, of course, from the left to the right. Then another left to right stroke that closes that part, and then we add the simplified form at the bottom of fire, and so the 4 commas. You can kind of see it also in the cursive form here, but of course there are some differences. Again, slanted, left to right, the 4 top to bottom, left to right, and the 4 commas. Fire wasn't actually isn't present in this kanji because originally it's a pictogram of a person dancing with something on their sleeves, or hands. It says oxtails held in both hands to pray for the rain, but there are other theories. But yes, it originally meant dancing, and there's a derived character that has the original meaning, as we'll see that often happens when the simpler kanji that had that meaning got a different one, more often than not some grammatical meaning. In this case, for example, the negation without, and then another kanji with an additional component, more often than not a radical, was created to have the kanji with the original meaning. And yes, this is the negation of that means without, nothing, nothingness, none, as in the meanings here in Japanese. Why do I say without? Because it's strictly Japanese reading. It's nai. Nai, which we have seen, is the... Sorry, that... Don't get... Okay, now it works. More often than not, we have seen it without the kanji, but it's the same. The adjective that means not being, non-existent, and used also for the negative in the plain speech. It's Chinese reading, the one that's used. There are other ones, but those are barely used, if at all. It's the one used is mu, accented. More often than not, not on its own, but as a prefix, an, non, and so with the meaning more of without something, as we'll see also, as we have seen in our compound that we are studying, muteki, literally without enemies, without rivals, unrivaled. Okay, now we can see the other part, the kanji for teki. Of course, first we'll see its components. First, we start the radical, which is this one. As we'll see, it's this is the most common form, but the original one is the alternative one, and so we have to go there first. And actually start with its own components. First and foremost, this actually a pictogram. You see soon, but first it's strokes, the stroke order. Quite easy. We start left to right and then slanted as a single stroke, and then slanted. Left to right, slanted, so single stroke, slanted. As you can see also with the animation. Here with the arrows. Let's see if... Okay. Hope it's working properly. Let's try doing this to... Okay, let's see if this makes it better. But yes, as we have seen the stroke order, left to right slanted, and then the other slanted one. Originally, it was a pictogram of the hand, right hand in particular, because as we'll eventually see, it was it's also included, even though modified, in the in the compound for right, but we won't see it for now. Can also have another form in other kanji, but we'll see it when the time comes. Nowadays, it's not used for the meaning hand. As we see, there's another kanji used for that. Now it has the meaning again, as well, and also. Its strictly Japanese reading is unaccented. And yes, that means, again, also, as we'll see, some often even just written in katakana, it's also in the way used to say bye, goodbye in the most common way to say bye, goodbye in Japanese, because it's literally again and then implied let's meet again. Then there are also technically Chinese readings. The most common one would be you, but honestly, even that one isn't used that often. So focus on its meaning, of course, original meaning of being a hand, and then it's strictly Japanese kunyomi reading mata. Then we have the part above it. It's on its own. First and foremost, it's written like this: top to bottom, then the big comma. Top to bottom, then the big comma. But practically, as you might have seen, it's practically a katakana to. On its own, it's a pictogram of a crack in a bone, an oracle bone, which was used for divination in ancient China, and it's where actually kanji used to be written at the start. As you can see, the oldest form here, it says Oracle Bone Script, because that's the origin of kanji, where they were written at first. And yes, it's like this, a crack in an oracle bone. It's actually a Jinmei kanji, so a kanji literally used for people names, the names of people. It technically has a kunyomi, but it's barely used as such, because there's a different kanji, of course, derived from it. Again, what I've just mentioned about the kanji for nothing, which then got an additional part to have the kanji with its original meaning to dance. We could have the kunyomi uranau accented, to tell someone's fortune, to divine the future, to predict, to forecast. But again, it's actually used. Another kanji is used for that. So just focus in this case on the meaning, which is to divine. The most common Chinese reading is boku. And yes, could be used on its own for divining, telling a fortune, predicting an archaic meaning, which is its original one. But of course, then there could be used in compounds. In case of our interest us, it's actually simply, well, first the stroke order. Simply we write them in their individual stroke orders and then combine them top to bottom, left to right for the first one, and then left to right slanted and slanted, as you can see also with the animation. And yes, in this case it's simply a pictogram or a ideogram in compound, a hand holding a tool, most likely a weapon, a whip, and it means to hit. Could also be a phonosemantic compound because of the part at the top, which gives the sound, as we'll see. And it's used in other kanji to indicate the meaning to hit, or simply an action. It's not used on its own, but its Chinese reading would be hoku. One of its Chinese reading would be hoku, and so yes, clearly similar to boku, which we have seen for the other. But never mind that, just keep in mind the meaning in this case, and of course how you write them. It's simply the order of the other two components. More often than not, instead of that form, we have this one in compounds. As you can see, it's kind of the tool at the top. On its own, the cracking oracle bones, slanted left to right, and then slanted and slanted. The bottom part is the hand, the way it used to be written originally. And yes, this is the radical you will often see in kanji, including the one that interests us. But also to see the other part and its components, the phonetic part, which is even more interesting. Now, it's this one, but it's an abbreviation of this character, which is a mouth at the bottom, as we'll see in a second, and above it, this one. Before seeing this one, we'll see its component. As we'll see, just like for the kanji for nothing, it's not actually present in the original kanji, but we'll see it anyway, since it's a kanji we have to study, and just so it's seeing it now, and also because it's relatively simple. As you can see, we start here, left to right, top to bottom, with this additional part, and then top to bottom in the middle. Top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom in the middle. The pictogram was this one, and it's a hanging piece of cloth. Its meaning of this kanji is cloth, turban, also an abbreviation of a kanji that includes it, and so with the meaning with, but we'll ignore it for now. We see it when we study that the full kanji. Technically has several readings. One that is the one of the full kanji I was mentioning, and it's barely written this way in Japanese, so we'll ignore it for now. It's most likely also an abbreviated form of other kanji, with the reading Becky, accented on the first one, exponent, power as in mathematics. But the one that interests us and on which we'll focus is one of its Chinese readings, the most common one, kin, as even on its own, kin accented on the first one, but on the second one it couldn't be accented because it's a syllable, kin. So accented means napkin, cloth, and can be found also in compounds. Just to make an example, we have the term zukin. Okay, zukin accented on the key, which means headgear, especially one made of cloth. And so also hood, and yes, I'd say those are the fundamental meanings, because literally the term zukin is a Chinese compound from zu, which means head, and then kin, which is cloth, and so head, cloth. Okay. Now that we have seen this, we can actually see character. The stroke order, unfortunately, we don't have it. It's we have the comma at the top, left to right, then the two kind of commas in the middle, of course, first the left one, then the right one. Then we have a cover. You might recognize it as it's practically the part that meant house, roof, without the comma at the top. So we start, also in this case, the comma to the left and then left to right, with the comma as a single stroke. And then we write the radical for cloth, and so top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom, and top to bottom in the middle. Comma, left to right, the two commas, the comma, then left to right comma as a single stroke, and then the radical for cloth, top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom in the middle. It's actually a pictogram, and that's why here we can see its original form. There isn't the cloth napkin isn't included. There are several theories. Honestly, the one that makes the most sense to me, and I also think it's the most useful also for its meanings, is tied up firewood. As you can see, you might spot here this part without the additional stroke here in the middle and the one on top, looks like the pictogram for tree wood. And so, yes, tied up firewood. But the meaning for this kanji on its own, it became sovereign, as in the emperor, more often than not, because the emperor ties the heavens and the earth. It's strictly Japanese reading. Kunyomi is Mikado unaccented, which is the term, one of the terms for the emperor of Japan. And then we have technically more than one Chinese reading, but the one that's used the most, if not exclusively, is te. For example, in the term teikoku. Fortunately, we don't have the second kanji for now. We haven't studied it yet. But it means country, state, and so on. And so the country of an emperor, an empire, teikoku, unaccented. Okay, from that, then we get this compound, which simply adds the mouth at the bottom. It isn't used on its own. It would mean only just, but it isn't used on its own in Japanese. Then we have its simplified form. As you can see, it's quite similar. But with less strokes. But there's also in this form there's also a kanji, even though again it's not related in this case, but we'll see it anyway, since luckily we have its components and it's quite useful. The kanji in question is this one. First we write left to right, top to bottom, because it's the kanji for 10, and then the one for mouth at the bottom. So top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom as a single stroke, left to right. As you can see also with the animation. Again, left to right, top to bottom here, left to bottom as a single, and then left to right to close it. Its original form used to be this one, a mouth, and then that at the top, the part of at the top seems to be a shield, according to this, unrelated to another kanji that we won't see for now, since it's not in the contemporary form. Others I think I've simply mentioned something spit out from a mouth, but its actual meaning, something spit out from the mouth, is quite useful at the very least, even if it weren't the original, the actual reason, the actual translation, the actual etymology, sorry. It's quite useful as a mnemonic for its meaning, which is old, someone spitting from the mouth something that's old and so hard. As we see in other kanji, it has the meaning hard. Most likely could be also an original meaning of the kanji. But yes, nowadays it means old. A good way also to remember it is since we have the cross at the top, then the part which is the mouth at the bottom, it kind of looks like a tomb. And so if it's something old, then of course, if some old to the point of ending up in a tomb, we have several readings. The strictly Japanese ones, first and foremost, furui, accented, which is the adjective for old. Old of things, because as we see, there's actually a different way to say old of people, because of course it wouldn't be also polite. And other extended meanings. We have technically a verb, furu, su. So simply, again, our furu, we add the I, we get the adjective as usual. We add su, and so most likely su from the original form of suru, to do, to get the verb furusu, unaccented, and means to wear out. Then when used on its own, its strictly Japanese reading becomes inishie, unaccented, which means antiquity, ancient times, bygone days, former times. Ancient times is the best translation to remember it. Of course, you could also find it as a prefix, simply as furu, so without the additional I for the adjective, the su of the verb, and as a prefix means old, used, previous. Also as its own, also as a noun on its own, furu, for used item, an old implied item, second-hand item. It's most, if not exclusively used Chinese reading is ko. And there are several actually words, that's just the one. For example, we can see them there. Kobun. Kobun, accented on kobun, accented on the first one. Kobun, accented on the first one. Literally ancient writing, because the other kanji, which we'll eventually see, is the one for writings, also literature, and so yes, also ancient writing, classical literature. Now that we have seen this, it's useful to remember it simply because when you write this abbreviated form of the kanji we have seen before, it's there. And this abbreviated form is written comma, left to right, the two commas, top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom as a single stroke, and then the kanji for old, so left to right, top to bottom, for the 10, and then the mouth, so top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom, left to right to close the mouth. It's not used on its own, but it can be seen in several, like the one we wanted to study, the one for the key. As you can see, to write it, we simply write its components from left to right, top to bottom. In this case, left to right, since it's can be divided the left component and the right component. We simply follow the same strokes as before. We won't repeat it them now. And yes, it's the kanji for enemy. Well, first and foremost, its the meaning is rival, opponent, adversary. And as such is also, and that's the meaning also of its the strictly Japanese reading used nowadays, kataki. There's also another kanji with the same reading, but we'll focus on this one for now. And yes, its meaning, kataki accented on the last one, the last syllable, which means again rival, opponent, adversary, also competitor, enemy, especially one with which there is a long-standing enmity, and by extension also revenge. Then, but you can hear it on its own, also with its Chinese reading, the one that's most used, if not exclusively, which is teki, unaccented, is the one we have seen, we continuously seen in Kirby's Adventure for enemy. And so yes, we have, we finally can write, I'll close Wiktionary, the one we have seen when you get an invincible candy, and so you become invincible, in Japanese, muteki, literally unrivaled, without rivals. Okay, now that we have seen this, I'd say that just like last time, we can take the break now, again around 5 minutes at most. And when we are back, we'll be back, we'll finally start to actually play Kirby's Adventure. Okay, see you in around 5 minutes. And we are back. And now we can actually start playing Kirby's Adventure. As usual, the intro, which we are skipping, which we've already seen it. We continue to see it the rest of it at the start of the future lessons. Hopefully, if we don't get to see other kanji in game. Before I start, I forgot the previous times. You can check them on your own in previous videos. Not sure if we have missed any, to be fair, but we see this one. You might notice at the bottom, on the bottom right, a writing, which is our quote-unquote title for this save file, depending on our current completion percentage. Our current title is Ame Agari no Shizuku. First we have Ame Agari, which is a compound from Ame. Actually, Ame should be Ame accented on the first. I'll check, which means rain. Yes, accented on the first. And then we have a noun, actually from a verb. The verb in question is agaru. Literally, its fundamental meaning is to rise, to go up, to ascend. We have seen it before when we studied the kanji for up. We have seen also its extended meaning to enter, because you go up when entering Japanese homes, Japanese houses, especially traditional ones. But by extension, one of its meanings is also to be finished, to be done, to be over, and so also to stop of rain. Of course, we change it, it's a U verb, godan verb, and so we can change the U into I to get the noun agari. Rise, increase, ascent, but also completion and finish. And so the end of the rain, and our of course agari is also unaccented, just like the original verb. The compound, so ame agari, accented on the a, most likely because it's a compound, and often, as we have seen, they are accented on the first element of the second compound. Sometimes we've seen also on the last one of the first one, but more often than not, the first case, first syllable of the second part of the compound. And so yes, literally end of the rain end would be, and so after the rain. Then we have the possessive particle no, of the end, of after the rain, of the end of the rain. And last but not least, the word shizuku should be, I think, unaccented, but we'll check. Which means drop, for example, of water. Okay, so it wasn't unaccented, but accented on the last one. As a reminder, when there isn't anything after, they sound exactly the same. But when you add a particle, then you can hear the difference before a word, an unaccented word, or one accented on the last syllable. Shizuku means drop, as we have seen, so the translation becomes drop of water, implied drop of water after the rain, at the end of the rain. So this is our current title for our save file. Well, I can maybe check if I can on the Kirby, with Kirby, if I can find the other titles, and so we can see if I've how many we've skipped. Okay, maybe by checking this I can find it immediately, then let's start. Okay, no, perfectly. I found it, and from 1 to 9%, so we barely avoided missing it. It's translated in English water drop, and it's definitely this one. Even according to the English translation, yes. As we can see in Japanese, it's more complex than simply water drop, and also more poetic, I'd say. But yes, now that we have seen that, we can start our save file. And level 2, Icecream Island. Funny cutscene at the start. Okay, before tackling level 2, we can play the minigame. We have seen its name and Tamago Kyatcha, egg catcher. The explanation, we have seen it last time, so you can skip it. Simply catch the eggs, avoid the bombs. And see if this time I can actually do better than last time. Not even perfect, yeah, perfect not, but much better. Unfortunately not enough to get a life, but we got the highest points you can get. So, much better than last time. Okay, we can start stage 2 of level 2. A classic Kirby tune. You can hear. Yeah, several Kirby tunes come from this game. We got our copy ability, Needle. This one we haven't seen before, so we'll check it. Nidoru. Needle, simply with the Japanese pronunciation. Of course, as a reminder, because there isn't the on its own, and so they add do. With other syllables, usually like the ru at the end for the L, they don't have the sound L, and so becomes r. More often than not, you add u after it, also because it's one of the consonants, the vowels that when in between unvoiced consonants, or at the end of the word with a and preceded by an unvoiced consonant is barely heard, if at all. So becomes the standard to vowel to add in cases like this where it would be simply a consonant in English. But for the sound D, we can't do that because, as we have seen when we studied hiragana and katakana, it would become by adding a U, zu, and so not the sound they actually want, and so they replace it with O. They add O, nidoru. Let's check its accent, but should be just like in English. Yes, on the first one. So, nidoru. We can see the explanation now. Kabi, Kirby, of course, simply pronounced in Japanese because they don't have the sound, and so it becomes long A. The possessive particle no. Karada, we have seen it, I think also last time, but anyway, in general, it's the word for body. Should be an accented, yes, an accented. And then we add ju, which is a suffix, which means all through, throughout, and so all through the body of Kirby, throughout the body of Kirby. Then we add the particle kara, which means from, and so from the whole body, we could say better in English, from the whole body of Kirby. Then we have a word that gets repeated, toge. I'm curious if I can also find it. We'll check first its accent on its own, and then I try to search it in the dictionary if it's present, to see the accent when it's doubled, but not sure we'll find it. The meaning is thorn, spine. And so, because this is the ability needle. Accented on the last one, so toge. And other extended meanings, but they don't interest us. Let's see if I can find it. Well, you can use it, but usually as and also it doesn't say the accent here, as an adverb, literally thorn, spike, spine, and so sharply, harshly. Sharply, I'd say it's the best translation. And there is also an adjective by adding ce, which as we'll see, but as a preview, it's another form for true adjective, ce, so long ce. And by adding that, it becomes sharp words, harsh, manner, tone, and so on. And of course, stinging and other similar meanings. But in this case, let's say it's literally a doubling of toge to make the plural. So to say thorns, to clarify that it's more than one thorn, several, as we'll see. Then we have the object particle o, also pronounced as wo, in careful speech and also singing. Nice. I see some messages in chat. And yes, it's exactly the purpose of this channel, to learn Japanese, a new language, in our case Japanese, by making it more fun with video games, and in our particular case, Kirby's Adventure. Yes, as I was saying, we have toge, thorns, then the object particle o, then the verb daste, from dasu, should be accented, but we'll check, which means to take out, to put out. We have seen it before, I think, maybe for the museum description. It's that to take out, to put out these thorns. Then we change it into its te form. Again, it's a U verb, godan verb, so we have to follow the different rules. In this case, it's easy, being in su, so simply becomes a si, and then we can add te. Again, the te form can mean do the action and another action, or by doing the action of the verb in the te form while doing the action of the verb in the te form. If you know Spanish, Italian, or other languages with the gerund, it's practically a gerund. In our case, I'd say it's clearly by taking out the thorns because of the following verb, which is kogeki suru. We have kogeki, which means attack. Should be an accent. We have seen it before. Yes, unaccented. It's a Chinese compound, so to make the verb from, it's technically a compound, a noun, and so to make the verb we add the suru, to do, and so literally to do an attack, to attack. And last but not least, we have the final sentence particle zo, which is adds force or indicates a command. In our case, maybe even both. And it's a male term or language. So the translation of this first part becomes attack by taking out the thorns from the whole body of Kirby. Then we have the second sentence. Teki o machibuse shite chiku chiku shite shimao. First we have again teki. We have just studied the kanji, so enemy, o the object particle. Then we have the verb, which could be actually again a noun, even though in this case it seems to be from verbs plus suru, but we'll check. because I don't think it's the verb fusesu. So it's more likely that it's it was it's machibuse, the noun, plus the verb suru. But this noun, it comes from a verb which is machifuseru, unaccented. The first part is from matsu, which should be, let's check its accent, but should be accented, which means to wait. So quite a useful verb to know. Yes, accented. Matsu, to wait. Also to await, to look forward to anticipate. But the fundamental meaning is to wait. Then we have the verb fuseru. In this case, with the additional dakuten, which changes it into bu, because it's a compound. Sorry, before moving to that part, of course, from matsu, it's a u verb, codan verb. We change so we can change the u into i to make the continuative form. In this case, to make the compound verb. But yes, as I was saying, the verb fuseru, accented, which means to lay face down, to lay upside down, to point downwards of the eyes, head, and so on. So also cast down the eyes. To lie one's body face down, to lie flat on the ground. But also, most likely because one lays down to place in hiding. So its extended meaning is to conceal, to hide, to keep secret, to place in hiding. For example, through troops for an ambush. And this is the meaning that we need for this the translation of the compound, because the verb machibuseru means to ambush. Literally would be to wait and place in hiding, and so to ambush. Why do you wait and place in hiding? To then ambush the enemy. But yes, in this case we then it's a ru verb, ichidan verb, and so to make the continuative form we drop the ru, fuse, and then we get this noun, machibuse, unaccented, despite both original verbs being accented, so be careful. And then we simply add the verb su, so despite technically having the verb as is, we literally have to do an ambush in this case. Of course, we then change suru into its te form. Being irregular, it becomes ste. You simply have, you just have to remember it. Something that can help is that suru, not in all cases, but in some, well, in this case it's more like a verb, kodan verb, u verb, kodan verb that ends in su, and so becomes ste in its the form. But as we'll see, well, we've also already seen in other forms it behaves like a root verb, incident verb, and that's why it's one of the true fully irregular verbs in Japanese, along with kuru, to come. But yes, we have the form, so to do an ambush, to ambush the enemy, and or again it could also be by, while. In this case, I'd say it could also be simply do the action of the verb in te and the action of the following verb, but we'll see in a second. Then we have chiku chiku, which is most certainly an onomatopoeia. Yes. And of course, considering that, let's check its accent, should be... Okay, it's according to the dictionary on the ku, most likely because it would be on the first, but since the first is a e between unvoiced unvoiced consonant, it becomes barely heard if at all, and so the accent also moves on the immediate closest free syllable. Usually it goes backwards, but it can go further backwards and so goes forward. So accented on the ku, chiku chiku. And yeah, when you hear it like this, you can see why it means prickling, stinging, tingling. Such a it's mimetic of the sound, this stinging. It could become an adverb by adding the to particle, as we have seen. That's the one used usually with onomatopoeias and also some words like iro iro, various. But in this case we add the verb suru to make a verb. To sting. To prickle. To tingle. Then of course we change suru into its te form against te. In this case to add then the verb shimau. As we have seen before, the form shimau on its own means to finish, to stop, to end, and also by extension to close a business, to close down, to shut down. But after the te form of a verb, it becomes to do completely, in the sense to finish. Again, the first meaning of shimau also on its own. By the way, as I mentioned the first time we've seen it, it can also mean to put away. I've seen it, for example, with in a phrase where it said to put away the toys to a child, to a kid. But yes, the fundamental meaning is to finish, and so also in the te form of a verb plus shimau, it means to finish doing that, the action of that verb, to do completely the action of that verb. Then we change its U verb, Godan verb, so we can change the U into O, and then add U, so actually long O. The volitional form, in its most common usage, let's. So the translation becomes let's ambush the enemy and sting them completely. Okay, so we have seen the explanation for needle, and yeah, literally from Kirby's whole body, apart of course from the bottom, where not how could he stand? You see all these needles, all these thorns. Okay, we get immediately a warp star. Wapu star, as you can see on the bottom. Warp star just in Japanese because of the usual changes compared to English. I think okay, it's I think it's simply a boss, so mini boss. So we can actually keep needle. Of course, I'm losing it by getting hit, but can get rid of it. And so we get will. Let's check its explanation. Hoiru will, but as you can see, in this case, unlike our usual pronunciation of will in English, in Japanese they took it from some who pronunciated with an aspirated hu at the start, and so it became ho. Couldn't become hu because with the u, because that's closer to is hu, a bilabial fricative, and so closer to our f instead of an h, and so hoi, ho, and then of course iru to make hoiru. Let's see if I can find it in the dictionary so we can check its accent. Yes, will, accented on the e, of course, hoiru, will, especially of a vehicle, I guess. Let's see its explanation. Taiya ni natte, tayatari kogeki. First we have taiya. Let's check its accent, but it's from English tire. Of course, since they don't have the sound er. In this case, it became ya because of the preceding e, taya. But yes, it's English tire. It's unaccented, okay. Maybe because it came to Japan early. And so we have then we have the particle ni, in this case it would be in the meaning to, but as we'll see, it's because it's required by the verb, which is natte, from naru, should be accented, but we'll check, which means to become. Also by extension, to result in, to turn out, to end up, and other extended meanings, but the fundamental one is to become, often written in kana alone, despite having a kanji, as you can, it's accented, so naru. And it requires to say become something, someone. The thing you become requires the ni particle, as if it were become into, in a way. I guess it's required to say becomes a certain something. That certain something ni naru. Of course, we change it then into its te form. Being a U verb, cotton verb, there are the different rules. It's in ru, so it becomes double consonant te. So we change into its te form. Most likely in this case, let's say by for the meaning by doing. Or also could be become and, well, maybe better this one. Become attire and then we have technically compound noun tai atari. We have seen this before. It's compound from accented on the a, tai atari. Again, because it's a compound, that's the most common accent for this. Tai from body, the Chinese reading. The strictly Japanese one, as we have seen before, karada. Then we have atari, unaccented, is from the verb ataru, to hit, and then extended meanings, figuratively hit, as in, for example, also to get, as in, to guess, to predict. But in this case, literally a hit, a body hit, literally. Of course, being from ataru, being a u verb, cotton verb, we change it into its the u into i to make the continuative form, and so the noun. And so yes, tai atari, literally body hit, a ramming attack, hurling oneself at. And then we combine that with, again, kogeki. Most likely the accent would be tai atari kogeki, so on the ko. Of course, the dictionary will definitely not include that. But that's the most likely accent because of the rule I mentioned. Or at least the tendency I mentioned. And technically, the sentence ends with this first sentence ends with just a noun. So an implied suru, to do, something like that. Of course, we can then adapt it into the when translating it. Become attire and attack, do. Implied the verb suru, to do, and do an attack, a ramming attack, literally a body hit attack, which we'll see is exactly what you do when you use this power, this ability. Then we see the rest of the explanation. Dakedo, toge to jimen no ana to ピード違反には気をつけよう。First we have だけど which is a conjunction which is composed of だ the copula in the plain speech and then けど accented on the first one けど which we have seen before means but. It's the shorter, it's an abbreviated form of けれども, almost never used nowadays. Then we would have also けども, not that often used. けれど, actually still used, but the most used of them all is けど, the shortest one. In this case we have だけど. And so だ is but literally would be is but. Is referring to what has been said in the previous sentence. And so what has been said is that but, and so it's a conjunction that we find at the beginning of a second sentence, which means but or better in English, however, although. So, however, then of course we get again とげ. In this case, since it's accented on the last one, when we add to, we can actually hear the accent, so to ge to. We add the particle to, in this case with the meaning and, to connect two nouns. So thorn, thorns more likely in general. And then we have Zimen. We'll check the accent, but literally it means Earth's surface, Earth surface, the ground. But yes, it's a Chinese compound and literally is Earth surface. Let's check its accent. Accented on the first one, so Jimen. Then we have the possessive particle no, so of the ground, of the Earth's surface. And then we have another noun modified by Jimen, which is Ana. I think accented on the second one, but we'll check, which means hole. Hole opening, but of course also pit by extension, as in a hole in the ground, which is our case. The accent is Ana, okay, so accented on the last one. Then we add again the particle to, and as we see, the particle to is used to say and to make an exhaustive, a complete list. It's worth mentioning that already because there's another particle, ya, which is used when making a non-exhaustive list of nouns. But we'll see that also when it shows up in a text, in a writing. So, we have so far, however, the thorns and the holes in the ground, literally the whole of the Earth's surface. Then we have speedo, of course from English. Should be accented on the P. We'll check, of course. Okay, no, good thing we checked, since it's one of those words from English that's unaccented, so speedo, unaccented. Then we have ihan, which means offense. Could be depending on the kanji with in which used to write it. Of course, we don't see them here. Violation, offense, or breach, transgression, infringement, contravention, or also offense against the law. The more common one would be a general offense, but of course also in the sense of against the law. Seems that one of the kanji forms is more common than the other, but it was worth mentioning that okay, you might find them different ones. And so yes, it's a violation of speed limits. Don't remember how let me check the correct way to say it in English, but the meaning, you got the meaning, and so it's a joke actually, because there actually aren't, but let's see. Speeding penalty, for example, yes, that makes sense. Not sure if there are also other ways, but that makes sense. So breaking the speed limit. Then we have a compound particle ni wa. Ni in the meaning to, required by the verb, but it's easy to remember in this case because it's the same in English. Then the topic particle wa, written as ha. So as for however, as for thorns, holes in the ground, in the Earth's surface literally, and speed violations, and then we get the verb, technically a noun and then a verb. Ki, we check the accent, which means, in this case, you might think at first, what does it have to do with trees? As we've seen, ki can also mean tree, ki accented. But this one is actually ki unaccented, and it's the word for spirit, mind, heart, nature, disposition, or even better, and I say this is the fundamental meaning, intention, mind in the sense of intention, will, motivation, or also mood, feelings, also consciousness. For those who know something about concepts in martial arts, Chinese, either Chinese or Japanese, it's ki or Chinese qi. Qi is the Chinese reading, which then became qi in modern Chinese because of the evolution of the language. So it would be attention in this case. Then we have the object particle o, and then the verb tsukeyo from tsukeru. I think maybe actually unaccented, but we'll check. No, it was accented, so tsukeru. And it means to attach, to join, to connect, to add. I guess in more in the fundamental meaning is to attach. To add, in English we would say to pay attention. And so the kyo tsukeru means to be careful, to pay attention, to take care. Of course, being a ru verb, ichidan verb in eru, we can drop the ru to then add yo-u, so long yo, to make the volitional form, again the most common meaning, let's. So the translation becomes, however, as for thorns, holes in the earth's surface, literally holes in the ground, and speed violations, let's pay attention to them. Of course, as I mentioned, the speed violations is a joke because you actually don't have to pay attention to those in this game, luckily. While the other two, yes, you have to pay attention, as we'll see. Okay, so now we can actually see it in action. And yes, we can see that you run into enemies and you have to pay attention to the holes in the ground. Those, I think you can, yeah, those you can, are, you can still keep on using wheel and be fine. But bigger ones, of course, not. And if there were thorns, then you'd also be in trouble. Okay, no issues with speed violations in the game. Okay, and so we actually got to the end of the stage. Okay. Oof, barely missed the one. Oh well. Okay, we get a mini game. We'll do it. Luckily, it's the one we have already seen. Crane Fever, Kureno Fiba. We've already seen the explanation, so we don't need it. Let's go again for the big Kirby dolls. As we have seen, you can get 2 big dolls if you catch the first one with the first credit. And we did, luckily. So we can get the second one. Maybe a little too... Yeah, this one fell. Oh well, we got one, and so 2 1-ups. 2 lives. Okay, we definitely have enough time to tackle another stage. Stage 3. Okay, no. Definitely don't want Wheel for such a stage. Better Parasol. Luckily Parasol we've already got before, and so we can... we don't have to check the translation again. Let's go inside. We can finally see actually action in Parasol in action when you fall. Okay, we want sword for that, let's say. Oh boy. Let's try to make the sword enemy spawn again. Luckily, it should this way. Yes, it did. That's a good part of enemies respawning by going get off screen in Kirby games. Okay. Well, Parasol would have been better, but maybe we can do it anyway. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's not... I was thinking more of hitting it at the bottom, but unfortunately I can't do that either, so let's ignore it. Luckily, it shouldn't be anything required for completion. We'll have to worry about completing instead of just finishing it, if I recall correctly, starting from the next world, level 3. But we'll see. Okay, yeah, most likely we missed that one up, or maybe a different room, and we'll get to that one up later. We'll see. Yeah, here if I kept sword, I could have at least opened that, but oh well. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we get Meta Knight, but he lives and we have to defeat his minions. Okay, easy enough even without an ability. Maybe it's actually even better to not have an ability in this case. Funny enough, I got quite a lot of practice when I played Kirby's Adventure. Well, the previous times I played it, but more recently, way more recently, when I played Kirby's Adventures challenges in NES championships. Nintendo World Championships, I think it's the correct title. At least it is, with another subtitle that we ignore for now in Japanese, as I've seen from my Japanese copy, which I got to get also the Famicom controllers, which we luckily, good thing I did, since we used it for Zelda, our previous series. And with that, we've actually finished also this stage. Yeah, when you have seen the writings before, stages are way quicker in this game. Goru, as you can see at the bottom. Goal. Okay. Let's see, we have a museum. We don't need again the title, the kanji we have already studied, and also read the description. Okay, we get actually 2 completely new abilities, so let's check them out and see if, because to be honest, I'm not sure if we can tackle, not sure if we could fully tackle a stage, also depending on the copy abilities there, so let's first check at least one, if not both, and that might be the end of the stream, we'll see. First and foremost, Fire, a fundamental ability in Kirby games. as we can see here, fire in at the top. Let's see its accent. Okay, accent on the first one, fire. Let's see the writing. Kuchi kara atsui hono o haite teki o moyashite shimao. First we have kuchi, unaccented, as we have seen before. It's the word for mouth. We've also studied its kanji. Kara, so from the mouth. Atsui, as we have seen before, it's hot. With two different, can be written with two different kanji and depending on which one you use, it can be hot as in weather, or like in this case, hot to the touch. Because after that, there's the word hono, which I think we have also seen before because of burning. In this game, fire and burning are separated. In modern Kirby games, they're combined. Hono, accent on the first one, means flame. And by the way, I'll check it, but I'm pretty sure that's the explanation. The ho in hono is the ho in as in the compound form of he, fire. Then we have no, the possessive particle, and then o. Originally, yes, I can confirm it, written as ho, but later, due to the evolution of the language, pronounced o, and now written as o when writing the word in kana. But yes, originally the word was ho, accented, and as we'll eventually see, ho means, we see also its kanji, even in modern Japanese, means ear of a plant, of a cereal plant, and then other extended meanings. And so, literally, ear, as in the ear of a plant, of fire, and so flame. That's the origin of the word hono. Okay, so we then add the object particle o. Then we have the verb haite from haku. We've seen it before, but I don't remember its accent. I'd say maybe accented in this case. It means to spit up, unfortunately, also to throw up, to vomit, to emit, to send forth, to breathe out. Yes, okay, accented, haku. So in our case, breathe out hot flames from the mouth. Of course, we change it then in its te form, being a u verb, and verb, we have to follow the rules. Being in ku, it becomes ite, because from ha, ki, te, but it was easier to pronounce it as I then. The k falls, haite. As a reminder, the accent of the forms, if the verb is unaccented, it's also unaccented. When the verb is accented, it goes to the third to last syllable, so haite, on the ha. In this case, I'd say with the meaning by spitting out, by breathing out hot flames from the mouth. Teki, again, enemy, enemies, in this case in general, o, the object particle, moyaste shimao. First we have the verb moyasu. Let's check its accent, but... okay, unaccented, my suspicion was correct. And it means to burn. As in the transitive verb, the intransitive form, I think we have seen that one before in burning, is moeru, while this one is moyasu, also both unaccented, to burn with an object, and also to burn with, as in figuratively, with emotion, feeling, to be fired up. In this case, literally, to burn the enemy. Of course, we change it then into its the form. Being an verb, code and verb, we have to follow the rules. Luckily, it's in su, so it becomes she, and then we add te. We have to change it into the te form to then add shimao again. Shimau, the combination te, shimau, to finish doing the action, to completely do the action of the main verb. And then we change the u of shimau into its verb, code and verb, so we can change it the u into o, and then add the u, and so long o, volitional form, let's. So the translation is, let's burn the enemies, by breathing out hot fire from the mouth. Then we have mera mera, an onomatopoeia, clearly, as you can see also from the to, to make the adverb. Accented on the first one, as usually is the case for onomatopoeias. And the meaning is flaring up, bursting into flames. Again, we add the to make the adverb, as we'll see also, do the action by bursting into flames, by flaring up. The action in question is the verb where I've just mentioned, the intransitive form moeru, to burn. Technically, this is a relative clause that is positioned before its noun, the noun to which it refers, and that it modifies. In this case, hono. And then, of course, we add the topic particle wa. So the translation so far becomes, as for the flames that burn flaring up, by flaring up, then we have another verb, technically a compound, but in a different way in this case, as we'll soon see, chikazuku. Chikazuku comes from chikai, the adjective with accented, which means near, close, as in of distance, near, close. Also close in time, and so soon, or close of relationships. In this case, it's combined with the verb tsuku. In this case, it becomes zuku because we had the dakuten, and so this is one of the cases in which we have to use when writing it in kana zu, as in da ji zu de do, instead of za ji zu ze zo, because the original verb is tsuku. Tsuku, which is the intransitive form of tsukeru, which we have seen before, also accented, tsuku, tsukeru, and so to be attached. And so close plus to attach, to get close, to approach, to draw near, also figuratively, and so in the sense of get closer to get to know, to get acquainted with. Then we had to, which in this case it's one of the ways to make the hypothetical, and so if, as I mentioned before, more often than not it's closing meaning to the zero conditional in English, and so if you do something, it ascertains the action of the second verb inevitably happens, and yes, in this case it's exactly that meaning, as we'll see. If you approach, if you get close, yakedo is a noun. Let's check its accent. Well, its meaning is burn, scald, as in the noun burn. And so unaccented, okay. And then we get we add the verb suru, literally, since it's a noun, to make the verb we add suru, literally to do. So to do a burn, to do a scald, but in this case, in the sense to get burn. And then, last but not least, zo, again to add force, or a command, in this case simply to add force, male term or language. So the translation becomes as for the flames that burn, which burn flaring up, if you get close to them, implied, you get burned. You literally, you get a burn, you get burns, as in the noun. And so we've seen that. Unfortunately, we don't have more time for now. So next time we'll start, well, maybe from also, as usual, from we haven't seen more kanji, so we start by continuing the intro. Then we'll get into this museum and check laser, and then start tackle stage 4, and of course continue from that. But first let's close the game. I'll check also if it has saved. We'll check also the name here in the new title, now that our percentage is higher. As it's higher, it should have saved. Yes, it's saved here. So we'll do all that. Let me close the app. And so yes, we'll do all that, but keep in mind that I won't stream this Friday because, as I mentioned also in today's post on YouTube, because it's holiday here in Italy, and so I'm seeing my friends. So we continue to learn Japanese with Kirby's Adventure on Monday. But of course, on Sunday we have our usual stream of games we play mostly just for fun. Most likely I switch to the earlier hour, just like last time, which is better also for my Japanese viewers. Being Sunday, hopefully some American viewers can also join, despite it being less convenient for them. And since unfortunately we couldn't check the global gem of Dragon Drive due to my mistake, I'm getting the game, the full release sooner than rather than later, and we'll play that, we'll try that on Sunday. Okay, so see you on Sunday for Dragon Drive, on Monday for more Kirby's Adventure, to learn Japanese with Kirby's Adventure. Okay, I said it all, so see you next time.